Are you struggling with finding the right documents for filing a surplus funds claim for your clients? Trust me, I have been there. And most people who get into surplus funds recovery also have. You see, finding and closing the clients is the easy part, and I have covered most of it in my previous videos. If you have not watched them yet, watch them after this one by following the link in the description. The hard part is what comes after, figuring out the paperwork, the documents, and the actual filing. On top of that, counties across America are making it even harder so that fraudulent claims can be avoided. But in all this mess, someone like you who found a clean case, contacted the homeowner, got them excited, submitted the claim, sadly got rejected. Not because they did something wrong, but because the documents they sent did not comply with the county's requirements. A wrong form, a missed signature, or even a document misprint can waste months of effort. So, today I'm going to give you the core document checklist I actually use. The one that tells you what you need, why you need it, and what happens if you do not have it. However, take this with a grain of salt, as every county has its own list of required documents. This video will suggest the core documents that almost every county needs, but you still have to check for other required documents according to the county. Let's get into it. Section 1. Documents for authority to act. Before you file anything, or even think about touching a county claim form, you need to establish that you have the legal right to act on someone else's behalf. This is where most beginners skip steps and pay for it later. 1. Signed contingency agreement. This is the first document to sign as soon as your client agrees to work with you. It spells out your percentage, your terms, and it protects both of you for the entire duration of the process. Every state has a different cap on what you can charge as an agent or assignee. Some states cap it at 10%, some go higher. Know your state's number before you put a figure in that contract, because if your fee exceeds the legal cap, the whole agreement can be thrown out. Get this signed before anything else moves forward. 2. The assignment of rights. This is the document where the former owner legally transfers their right to claim the surplus funds over to you. Without this, you are nobody to that county. Some states require this assignment to be filed with the court. Some require a judge to approve it before the funds are released. And some states do not recognize it at all and require the owner to file directly. This is not a document you can copy from another state and reuse. You have to verify how your specific state handles assignments before you rely on this as your foundation. 3. Limited power of attorney. Some agents use this instead of a full assignment or alongside it. It authorizes you to file paperwork, communicate with the county, and act on the homeowner's behalf without taking full ownership of the claim. It must be notarized in virtually every jurisdiction. And in many counties, they want it to be property specific, meaning it has to reference the exact address and the exact case number. 4. Mandatory disclosure form. Many states require you to inform the homeowner in writing that they have the right to claim these funds themselves without hiring anyone. That disclosure has to be signed by the client and kept in your file. And even in states where it is not legally required, I recommend having it anyway. It builds trust, it protects you from disputes later, and it shows the homeowner that you are operating with integrity. That matters more than most people think. 5. IRS Form W-9. Almost every county in America requires a completed W-9 before they will issue a disbursement check. It is a tax reporting requirement, and there is no way around it. Get this signed by the former homeowner at the same time you get your contingency contract signed. Trust me, you do not want to wait until you are ready to file, because if you wait and your client becomes hard to reach or changes their mind about cooperating, you are stuck holding a complete claim package that cannot be paid out because of one missing form. Section 2. Proving the previous owner's right. This section is what proves to the county that your client is the legitimate former owner and that the money actually belongs to them. 6. County-specific claim form. The claim form may seem straightforward, but there is no standard form. Every single county in America has its own version, and some counties have no form at all and require you to draft a formal written motion. The very first thing you do when you start working in a new county is go to that county clerk's website and find out exactly what they use. Download it fresh every single time. Do not pull a saved copy from 6 months ago, as the forms change without notice. And submitting an outdated version is one of the most common reasons claims get rejected before they are even reviewed. 7. Certified copy of the recorded deed. This document proves your client owned the property before it was auctioned. Ensure that the client has the original, not a photocopy, a scan, or an email, as none of these work. You need a certified copy from the county recorder's office with the recording information, the book, the page, and the instrument number visible. That certification is what the county clerk is actually looking for. Without it, your ownership proof means nothing. 8. Government-issued photo ID of the former owner. Any government-issued ID, such as a driver's license, state ID, or passport, will work. However, it should be current and unexpired. If the name on the deed does not match the name on the ID for any reason, such as marriage, divorce, or legal name change, you need another respective document that bridges that gap. A certified marriage certificate, a divorce decree, a court-ordered name change. Do not assume the county will figure it out. They will reject it and move on. 9. The notarized affidavit. This is the sworn statement where the claimant, or you on their behalf, under the limited power of attorney, formally asserts the right to receive the surplus funds. Most counties require original wet ink signatures and a current notary stamp. Ensure you do not submit a photocopy of a signed affidavit. Also, do not let your client sign it before they are in front of the notary. The notary must witness the signing. That is the whole point of notarization. One wrong step here and the document is legally invalid. 10. Case number and sale documentation. You need the specific case number, the sale date, and the sale amount from the foreclosure or tax deed sale. You pull this from the county clerk's online docket or records portal. Without the case number, you cannot file anything. This is your anchor document to which everything else is attached. 11. Proof that surplus fund. This might be a notice letter that was mailed to the former owner, a clerk's certificate of surplus, or a balance showing in the county's online tax deed or foreclosure records. I have seen agents build out an entire file for a case where the funds had already been claimed by someone else. That is time you are never getting back. Section 3. The supporting documents. 12. Title search or lien search report. This one is not optional, even though a lot of beginners treat it that way. Before you file, you need to have any junior lien holders, second mortgage holders, HOA creditors, or other parties have a competing claim to those funds. The title search tells you who gets paid first and what your client will actually get after all the priority payouts. If you skip this and file blind, you might recover $80,000 on paper and watch $75,000 of it go to lien holders you did not know existed. 13. Proof of current mailing address. The county needs somewhere to send the check. A utility bill or bank statement addressed to the former owner at their current address works in most counties. It's a simple document and really easy to get. Do not let it be the reason a disbursement gets delayed. 14. Copy of the foreclosure judgment or tax deed certificate. This ties the property, the sale, and the former owner together in one document. County clerks ask for this regularly as part of the claim package. Pull it from the court records while you are pulling the case number. Now, one thing I want to be clear about before you take this list and run with it. Everything I just walked you through is the core. These are the documents that come up in almost every county across America. But requirements do vary. Some counties will ask for something extra. Some have a slightly different version of a form, a different notarization standard, or an additional step that is specific to how that county operates. So do not treat this list as the final word for every single case you work. Treat it as your foundation. Before you file anything, go to that county's official website or find the clerk's office and read their specific instructions. Now, before I wrap this up, let me tell you something I hear constantly from people thinking about getting into this business: the requirement of a legal background. I have been doing this since 2018, and I am not a lawyer. You are not practicing law. You are just locating former homeowners, informing them that money exists, and signing a contract where they agree to pay you a percentage for your time and expertise. That is the business, and that is exactly what this checklist is for. This is your starting point. Use it to build your process, county by county, case by case. If you are serious about doing this the right way, from finding the list to filing the claim to cashing the check, head over to overageacquisition.com and enroll in my course today. Everything I know is laid out step by step inside. Link is in the description below. If this video helped you, hit the like button, subscribe so you do not miss the next one, and drop a comment telling me which document on this list surprised you the most. I read every single one. See you in the next video.